for those of you who are liking the video, we doubled the number of likes within a minute. Jimmy, go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed that the CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, is now giving away free EV chargers with every purchase of a vehicle. Not that Tesla has to do this because Tesla can sell anything, a mug that says Tesla on it. But do you see Elon or Tesla following suit to get more EV chargers out there to widen this EV push across the nation?
Omar, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, no, I wasn't listening.
Jimmy is asking if Elon is going to follow suit with Jim Farley in giving out.
Need to give out EV charge. I mean, it's a sales incentive, right? So, like, you come up with these different promotions, whether you're giving low interest financing, hey, we'll install your charger or whatever. It doesn't really matter, $500 here, $500 there. I mean, it's kind of a nice incentive in a way because people don't really know how to install it, and it can be kind of expensive depending on your electrical system. But most people can charge just off an outlet that they already have. Like even just taking your EV home for the first time, a normal 110-volt outlet will do. Maybe you can upgrade that with an electrician to 220. I think really what we need to focus on is simplifying and lowering the cost of an EV charger installation and making it super simple. So the mobile connector, they've got that I think for like $250. You can take that, plug it into an outlet you already have. It's dead simple. You don't even need an electrician in most cases.
Exactly, and we say this often in this space. Charging is not really the limiting factor, except on psychology. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take a lot of repetition in terms of saying these things to people and sharing that with your friends, family, colleagues to get the word out. Charging is really not the limiting factor in terms of EV adoption. Superchargers do a great job. Like Omar said, you can charge it at any plug really at your house, and you can get 50, 60, 70 miles overnight, which is really what most people need for their daily need. And now just rely on the supercharger network for long trips. And if you install one of the faster home chargers at your house, then you can get a full charge basically overnight, and you wake up to a full tank.
Okay, so tomorrow.
We just have to get the word out. All right, Bradford.
Well, I'll provide a little counterpoint to what Ford's doing. I think a lot of people don't know how much it costs, and for most people,
I have this clip that I want to play for Omar about the strike. They really haven't talked about the port strikes that much, but this is the clip that was played yesterday from Omar, and this is the part that I have a problem with when he says things like this. So listen to this. It's about a 2-minute clip. This was said yesterday on Tesla Live, and this is why I started listening to this guy on the Yaman Space, and I started having an issue with it. Here's the clip.
Be a big day for basically the entirety of mostly Amazon, Apple, and Tesla.
He's talking about the strike here.
Tomorrow we might see a dock worker strike on the East Coast in the US. As of right now, I think Tesla uses the Baltimore port and some in Texas for exporting some cars to the Nordic nations from Giga Texas. However, we don't have actual data about how many ports they are using right now on the East Coast. But anyways, this is going to be a substantial movement for the stock tomorrow. So, we'll have to see, and we'll have to see if the strike actually happens, but it could be.
So the strike happened, and what did the stock do? The stock went from 261 yesterday down to 252.
Well, I mean, let's see, right? So there's a lot going on with this strike. I highly doubt it's going to get to a multi-week type of strike that happened last year with legacy automakers, just because I think it's it's election year. Omar?
Why does Tesla need a port to deliver cars?
Okay. Why does Tesla need a port to deliver cars? This is what Omar said yesterday on the Tesla Live show. The port on the West Coast delivers cars to Europe, and Asia. So that one's not on strike. Fine, fair enough. But the port of New Jersey and New York is one of the largest ports on the East Coast that is on strike. And it is well known that it facilitates shipments of Tesla supply chain. So how did that affect the stock? They said, well, it's not going to affect the stock. And it's not going to have that much of an impact. Let's listen.
Impact Tesla as much as it would impact, let's say, the European automakers that are importing cars into the US.
So it won't impact Tesla, but it will impact the other cars.
Yeah, ultimately, I work with a company that sources materials globally, and materials in transit are on the water warehouses. That's what we classify them as in our ERP, is an on the water warehouse. And, you know, if you have things coming into the East Coast ports, you've thought about this already. You know, everybody's trying to mitigate it. You know, there's a certain amount of things you can't change, but yeah, we think about this a lot.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, there's been quite a few companies planning for this. Like, these things are kind of seen coming multi-month ahead, and you know, we've also seen inventories rising in recent months in the U.S. Across the economy. So that may be part of it. And combined with the fact that we're in the election year, we're only like just a few weeks away from the election. I cannot imagine federal government letting this extend to a point where it reignites inflation or slows down the economy going into the election. I mean, that would be crazy. So, all right, I think we covered.
So it happens.
Okay, so tomorrow could.
It happens where it's affecting the economy at $3.8 to $5 billion a day. So that's already started to happen. But let's see, that was one clip from yesterday that we found that Omar basically said, why does Tesla need a port? Huh. I guess we make everything in-house.
Omar, Ellie, or anyone
Back
else
to the live show of Tesla
please
Live.
Request to speak. I see a hand up from Wessex.
Hey, Yaman, I just got the full self-driving on the Cybertruck too. I don't know if you want to kind of stay on that topic for a minute or do something else. Just thought I'd share some
Absolutely.
thoughts.
Yeah, let's talk about FSD on Cybertruck. Yeah.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I've had FSD for many, many years. I was an early beta tester. Not like Omar, but I've had it for a long time. And it's honestly been really disappointing for me, just to provide some context, because I have an older Model S with hardware 3. And I did not get 12.5 until a week ago. And it's been great. I've only tried it a few times, but the truth is I love driving my Cybertruck because it's absolutely amazing. I've had it for about 5 months now. And so I'm going on a trip soon with some family. And I was just hoping it would come out in the next few weeks before I went on that trip. And for it to come out yesterday, man, props to the AI team for that. I just really appreciate it. But here's what happened. So I drove it today a few times. I did not do the interstate yet, but it drove great. There was a couple times I had to take over. But the experience of driving this larger vehicle with full self-driving is amazing. And something Omar said a lot was a real breakthrough for me. This is the first time I've experienced not having to, or no nag, because my hardware 3 requires that I touch the wheel. So today, for the first time, I'm driving around and this thing's going everywhere for miles and miles and miles, and I'm doing nothing. I'm like, this is crazy. So I'm loving it. It wasn't perfect. A couple small things, no big deal. I expect to iron them out. I can go into detail on that, but it's probably not that helpful.
Detail is always helpful, but let me get to a couple of other reviews real quick, and then we'll come back to you for details. Habib is an early great supporter of the space. Thank you, Habib, for your support on Patreon and elsewhere. Habib, did you get FSD on your Cybertruck?
Yeah, I got FSD on my Cybertruck. Thank you for that warm introduction.
If you're just joining us,
12.5.5. And
if you're just joining us on the Tesla Live Debunked show on broadcasting on X and on YouTube, we are just listening to Tesla Live. They have a show every day that they talk about stocks and how Tesla performs. I've been a very big critic of Tesla FSD over the last year or so, and it just want to make sure that these, a lot of the people that promote this FSD are stating the proper facts about it. So we're here trying to see if there's anything that we can debunk on a Tesla Live show.
where it's not waiting forever, where you need like absolute clearance. It's driving very natural like. However, the one problem continues to remain at 12.5.5 is when we're arriving to our destination, it's still not stopping at the correct location. And so, that's something that I think they definitely have to work on when they come to robotaxi, or at least maybe they'll slow down and stop the vehicle in the general vicinity of the destination. But it's still missing plazas, turning into the wrong plazas. That's something I've noticed is consistent across the versions.
Thank you, Habib. And I'm going to read a feedback from Steve on YouTube live chat. Steve is also a great supporter of the space for the last 2 years and also a moderator in live chat. He says, my Cybertruck FSD feedback is this. It's very similar on city streets to my Model Y on 12.5.4, which to me is a big win. Did not expect the first cut to perform just as well as other vehicles. That's very good feedback. All right, let's go to, we have 2 other new speakers here. Let's go to Mayu. Mayu, go ahead.
Hey, Omar, my comments were on your question in regards to Israel. But if you're talking about Cybertruck, I can skip.
Let's wait on that in a second. And then let's go to Samir Shah.
Hey, good afternoon, Yaman. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, thanks for bringing me on the speaker board. I've actually enjoyed listening to your live episode. I've actually shifted my lunch hour to coincide your 1 o'clock Eastern time zone, so I really enjoy listening to this live talk. The question
That's
I have
amazing. That is so incredible to hear. Thank you so much. What's your question?
The question is not on the Cybertruck, but a little bit more on the Powerwall side. As everybody's experienced, there are a little bit of storm in the southeast. We've been battered with no power. My question is it possible to use the large battery we have as a power source? I know there may be some hardware lacking to extract power out of the battery, but is there any kind of retrofit which may be possible to extract juice out of the existing battery?
Omar, what do you think?
Yeah, so there are new vehicles starting with Cybertruck support PowerShare, so they have power outlets on them, and the same NACS port used to charge your car can actually send power back to the house. But that's only on Cybertruck. There isn't going to be an official retrofit available for older vehicles, but going forward, new vehicles should have them. So that'll be handy. Tesla's selling a ton of Powerwalls. They just announced today 750,000 Powerwalls installed worldwide, which is pretty nuts. And they're also installing a lot of PowerShare. So I think when you see what's happening with these natural disasters, it is something that can make a big difference to have. So I bet you as people recover, you're going to see a lot more Powerwalls and PowerShare wall connectors set up.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
and
the
we talked
problem
about
with
this
the
topic
Tesla
a
Power
couple of
Walls is that
shows ago
I've actually
too,
reached
in
out to
detail.
Tesla about 6 times to
And if
try to
you
get them to
haven't
install the solar
got
panels
the
in my
chance,
house
I
and the
believe
solar
it was
roof. I
Friday's
got one
episode,
call after
Friday's
6
episode, that
attempts,
would be
and that
190.
call was from a company in
Let's go to
Arizona. That
Jimmy.
Arizona company said, "Yeah, we're here to give you a quote." I gave them my address in Seattle, Washington, or north of
Jimmy,
Seattle,
your connection is
and they're
horrible.
like, "We can't service your area."
Yeah, I
But
just
that is
wanted
the
to
one
say
company
on
that
the
came up as
FSD
a option
conference, I got
for
FSD on
Tesla
the
solar
Cybertruck as
panels. So
well,
I don't know
and
how
I've driven it.
viable that company is, or
By the
how
end of today, I'll
how
have
much longer
driven
that company's going to
1,000
last, because
miles.
I can't even get
So about
anybody to
800
come out
of
here and do a
that
quote
on
for
the
me.
highway doing long distance driving. About
Forget the
200
Powerwall.
miles city
And
driving.
the company that I
And
did get
it
to
is
give me a
just
quote on
incredible.
solar panels,
After
it's
10,000 miles and months of driving
quite
the Cybertruck manually,
quite
it
expensive.
is really nice to have
A lot
FSD.
more money than
It's not as
my
good
bill.
as FSD on the other cars yet, but it's 90% there. It behaves just like FSD on the other cars. And compared to having nothing, it's like, a godsend. So, and then, FSD on the Cybertruck, especially FSD with no nag, it's almost the best vehicle for FSD in a way. As it gets better, especially, I mean, it's just so comfortable and so nice to ride around in it. You're like, wow, this is a really great experience. So I'm really glad that they got that out, not only to early access testers, but to everybody. It seems like all the Foundation Series customers are going to get early access FSD updates. So that's another reason to plop down for a Foundation Series if you're obsessed with FSD. Finally, I'll mention for Wes Hicks, I would recommend he try his Hardware 3 car with 12.5 a little more. It should run even better than his Cybertruck, and it has no nag.
With 6?
Yeah, Omar, I've got hardware 3 on that, so I think I still have the nag.
No, it doesn't matter if you have Hardware 3 or Hardware 4. Both are
Well, I'm
running the
sorry.
exact same software.
I'm sorry. I don't have an interior camera.
Oh, is that a, what is it, a Model
It's
S?
it's a Model S 2017.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hey, I do want to add something about PowerShare, if I may, Yaman.
Yeah, I will in a second. Just on FSD on Cybertruck, there's a comment in YouTube live chat that FSD on Cybertruck is still not perfect, as Omar also said. But he said it's 90% of the way there. So people must stay vigilant and still monitor their vehicles. You're still responsible in the driver's seat. So
You're just joining us.
just
We're
a
listening
word
to
of
Tesla
caution. And
Live,
Hustle Town, thank you very
and
much
we
for
are trying to
moderating
find out
and
Yeah,
making sure
if you're
that
used
Mr.
to
Elon,
FSD on other vehicles,
I'm sorry,
you
Mr.
got to be a
Homars
little more
is
cautious. You'll
transparent.
notice in the release notes it says this is an early access build. So this is a build that normally they would not send out widely. If you're getting this, you're in the early access program for Cybertruck, so to speak. So be extra cautious, but it's not that bad. When I was reading the release notes,
You only had
I
to
was like,
wait
wow,
10
this
months
is
to
going to
get it after
suck.
you paid $20,000
Because it
for
said
it.
upcoming improvements, improvements in parking lots, improvements on intersections and stop signs. I was like, well, okay, if it's not working in parking lots well, if it's not working at intersections, where is it working?
Why even release
But then
it?
I turned it on and it was like, okay, this is actually pretty good. But it does seem to need a little more training, a little more data that's Cybertruck specific so that it can match the performance of the other vehicles. And I have no doubt it'll not only match, but exceed the performance of other vehicles in time.
Excellent. Wessex, go ahead.
Yeah, just regarding the PowerShare and the Cybertruck, one of the things I'm really blown away with, I'm currently going through a quote process with electricians to install PowerShare, and I'm in some groups online, and it looks like the average price, on the low end, is about 4,000. Everybody's house is different. The box is a little bit further away or closer in some places, or maybe you have a lot of air conditioners, for example, and you need a lot of extra things that are involved with the quote. My quote's like 7,500 or something for the install. And again, so I'm seeing about 4,000, 8,000 cost for the PowerShare. What I'm blown away with is the cost savings if you buy a Cybertruck instead of doing Powerwalls. I know we talked about this the other day, but it's just fascinating that you have a 123 kilowatt hour battery sitting right there. And for 4 to say 7 grand or 8 grand, you've got access to this size battery backup for the house. So when anybody's thinking about getting a Powerwall in the future, I would really rethink that. Maybe not, not avoid it. Maybe get one, because if you're not at home, obviously when a power goes off, that's a different issue, particularly if your family's there, et cetera. But man, the value is pretty striking.
Man, we have a lot of good topics and great speakers today on the board. Let's go to Bradford, then Omar, then Habib.
That's a great point, Wes. I hadn't thought about it that way, and I think I'm going to do the PowerShare now. I hadn't decided yet. I took my Cybertruck delivery in late March, and I was thinking about getting a tent for my girls, and now I'm definitely going to get the PowerShare. So thanks for blowing my mind that way. I just want to say how excited I am for end-to-end on the highway for people to get that. When we drove from California to New York and back, our biggest grievance was with version 11 on the highway. And as Omar said yesterday, a lot of feedback he was getting from people
Tesla stock on the screen right now, showing you that it has been quite effective. It's starting to go up a little bit, but it has been affected by the port strike, it looks like.
So I'm I'm really excited for people to see that and experience it.
Very good. Omar, then Habib, then Dallas.
Yeah, if you are considering getting Power Share, the Cyber Beast includes installation free. So you might think, oh, okay, well, installation free. How much could installation be? Well, it could be $4,000 to $8,000. So if you're on the fence, that might be something that could tip you towards getting the Cyber Beast. And then, in terms of home battery backup, if you want to get a Powerwall installed, you're looking at probably at least $20,000 or more. And if you can install it, I recommend getting both, getting a Power Share and the wall connector with Power Share. But if you're not, ridiculously rich, and $20,000 is a lot of money for you, like it is for probably 99% of people, $4,000 will get you the home backup. Granted, your car needs to be there, but it's a lot more capacity than a Powerwall, and you can just plug it into any car, any battery system, and it'll back up your home. So from that perspective, it really is the lowest cost option to get battery backup for your home.
Very good. Let's go to Habib.
So, lots of respect always goes to Omar and his full self-driving experience. And I'll tell you, normally I'm always voicing how Omar's experience on the West Coast is different than my experience here on the East Coast in New Jersey. I've done about 250 miles on the Cybertruck on FSD, mostly suburban roads, city roads, and some highway. And I finally actually feel that this vehicle with FSD is driving like the experience that Omar's been having in California in his other vehicles. So I know he was saying that it's, he's a little bit more cautious with it. I have found this to be the best version of FSD that I've ever experienced before.
That is actually pretty cool. I like Habib. I believe Habib is very honest.
Wow, that's hell of a comment.
That is a hell of a
Habib.
comment. I have to agree with him. I don't have the Cybertruck, but we will be getting some information from a few people that I know that have Cybertrucks. And Habib is a very honest gentleman.
Everybody gets Elon mode. Remember when people used to talk about Elon mode? Everybody's got Elon mode now. And now everybody's getting whole Mars mode.
Whole Mars
Zero
mode.
intervention
You do
drives.
not want whole Mars mode because that is a bunch of bull.
If you want whole Mars mode, please go to the top of our screens and like.
Then you got to go
YouTube
live
video.
in San Francisco because that's the only place that he gets zero
Mars
interventions
mode
in a geofence location.
I really love how our community is growing, and your insights make this community space special. So if you're enjoying the discussion, please give it a like. It's not just about the numbers. This really impacts the visibility of the channel. Like right now, it's even hard to find Tesla Live on YouTube. So likes and subscriptions really matter on YouTube. We have to kind of get over this hump. Dallas.
Yeah, curious if PowerShare is something that can be activated for the rest of the Sexy fleet on like via software update or a retrofit, or is that like only something that the Cybertruck is going to get?
No retrofits for older vehicles, but it will be standard on all vehicles going forward.
Jimmy.
Cybertruck FSD owners, I'm very curious to know, what is it like to break out of FSD with steer-by-wire?
It takes a little more travel on the steering wheel than you'd expect, but you get used to it. You actually don't need to apply more pressure. It's just a slightly more travel.
Habib.
As far as being a passenger sitting in the driver's seat supervising, it's completely like there's no difference whatsoever in a steer-by-wire, in my opinion, compared to a regular steering column. It drives very well. It's actually even smoother, in my opinion, because the steer-by-wire is I found it to be so sensitive at slow speeds. The car, even if you just want to make a slight turn, it's very jerky. and it's very smooth and a great driving experience. I've been driving on FSD nonstop since I've gotten it. And it's such a great experience so far.
Habib, the only thing that matters is the following question. What do you think I'm going to ask you? I will let you answer the question before me asking the question.
Yeah, so no, I'm not selling the Taycan as of yet. I just went and test drove the new Macan yesterday.
This
And,
guy. What's going on?
maybe adding that to the fleet.
LL
We'll
Club?
see.
Oh my God. You know what? I'm going to come to Jersey and slash your tires. Uzi?
Well, I guess
For those of you
Habib
just
is
joining
kind
in
of answering
on
my
the
question.
broadcast, we were just
I
listening
was
to
thinking,
Tesla Live Debunked.
what's his experience comparing his
We
drive
had a
to
comment yesterday
Omar's?
that Mr. Omar
What
saying
hardware
that
does
the
his
stock will not
Tesla
be
have?
affected by the
I'm under the
strike
impression,
that's
obviously
happening
the
currently
Cybertruck is the newest
with the
car,
ports, and of course you saw
so
the stock go
the
down from
hardware on it should be
261
equal for everyone.
all the way down to about
So it should.
253.
Yeah,
This
so
now
I
about
have
255.
I have hardware for obviously in the Cybertruck. My other vehicle is a Model S, which is a hardware 3 Model S, and that's where I've been doing a lot of FSD. Before then, I had standard hardware 3 vehicles as well.
Habib, we have a question for you from YouTube live chat from Ken. You may remember Ken from our conversation discussions. He asks, how does Porsche's full self-driving compare to Tesla FSD?
Well, I highly respect Ken, and I appreciate the comment and the question. If I'm going to drive myself, the only vehicle I want to drive is the Porsche right now. If I'm going to use FSD, it's going to be the Cybertruck.
Have you driven the Cybertruck manually? It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to drive for sure. But I'm just so excited. I'm really having a good experience with FSD, Omar, and I've not really had the best experience in the previous vehicles. So I'm just, I got it last night, so
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying it.
Habib, we have another comment for you in YouTube live chat. YouTube live chat community seems to really like you. Steve says, I hope for the next SpaceX launch, Habib brings the Cybertruck and not the Taycan. Taycan, he says.
Yeah, I love my fans on the YouTube live. Thanks for all the questions. Great group of people. Yeah, and I put a little post out. Actually, I've been meaning to reach out to Omar and send it his way as well. We're trying to get a group of some people. We're going to try to drive down from Jersey to Boca Chica for the next SpaceX launch, and we invited. It started with Cybertrucks, but it's anyone who's got a Tesla you want to join. We can all caravan together and make the trip. I think it'll be a fun time. I told Steve he's coming. I think he's coming out of Florida. We told him to meet us. It'd be a lot of fun.
Very good. Maybe I'll tag along. All right, let's go to, I believe, Samir. Did you get a chance to talk?
Yeah, I did. Thanks, Yaman.
Okay. And I believe we had a pending question from Mai. Mai, go ahead. Mai, you may unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hey, Omar. And so are we going back to the Israel discussion now?
Yeah, sure. What's your question?
No, I had a question. You were asking if anybody had any insights on what was going on and want to participate. So if you want me to expand on that, I can a little bit.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
So it's important for us to know that October 7th, it'll be the anniversary of the attacks that took place in Israel, right? So that can be symbolic to any sort of retaliations towards Israel or vice versa for that matter. Additionally, the fact that Iran right now is under new leadership after President Raisi's death on that helicopter crash means that we have a lot of uncertainty from Iran. Like we don't know what's gonna happen or what decision they're gonna make because it's new leadership. This past week, Israel has has gotten rid of at least 7 key Hezbollah leaders. And in that last big bombing, there was a couple of Iranian Revolutionary Guards in there as well. And this has, made Iran really upset to the point that we can have a lot of global uncertainty in the next week or two, at least until the
Okay.
October 7th.
Let me ask you, where are you located?
In the States.
Okay, and what's your experience with the topic?
I'd rather not say, but I follow a lot. If that's your question.
Okay. Okay. I mean, yeah, if you have any unique insight, you're welcome to it. But you're a first-time speaker. We do have Eli on the speaker board right now, who has all boots on the ground, and he's been reporting on the topic for months. So thank you very much for your participation. Uzi, welcome back.
Yeah, I was going to like the YouTube video, and then I returned, and then
Thank you. We
adjourned.
actually just went over 100 likes over there, so we're close to it. All right. We have a lot to talk about today. Ellie, how are you doing over there?
Yeah, we good. It's everything calmed down, and it looks like the open air of Israel is now open, so we can get out, see what's going on. I will let you know if any development.
Okay. And you're with your wife, I'm assuming. You guys safe?
Yeah, we are safe. Thanks.
Okay. Jimmy.
Yeah, I just want to know why you're running Kamala Harris ads on your YouTube videos, and if you could remove them, that'd be great. Appreciated.
Are you serious? I have no control. I mean, I didn't know this. I was watching on TV from a friend of mine, with a friend of mine the other day. Just wanted to kind of see how the quality is on TV and stuff. And I did see a political ad. I don't think I have any control over that, do I?
No, you don't. They just buy
Yeah.
a bunch of different keywords.
Yeah, like Tesla. Anyway. Well, I'm looking forward to tonight's VP debate. I'm going to be watching closely. We haven't had a debate in a few weeks, so I don't know much about the two VPs, so maybe we can discuss that tomorrow. All right. We're going to have a Palantir discussion sometime later this week or next, probably. Uzi is introducing us to one of the employees, so maybe he'll be able to answer some questions that we may have and introduce and potentially discuss the commercial side of things, because the government side of the business is obviously secretive. So, Uzi?
Yeah, the government side's quite secretive. There's questions if they helped assassinate Osama bin Laden. I do want to point out that this whole Mars guy is also a Palantir investor.
Oh, is that right, Omar?
I think I have like a couple shares. It's not really that material of a position. Let me see. Yeah, like 10 shares.
Okay, Jimmy?
I was going to say, I do know Tim Walls. He knows who I am, and I've asked him multiple times to take FSD drives with me, and he has yet to accept.
Who's Tim Walls?
The governor of Minnesota, who is the VP.
Okay. Man, people throw out these names. I have no idea.
is Tim
The other
Walz?
day, some European speakers said ABBA, and I'm like, who's ABBA? And everyone went after me for
That's
like 3
about
days.
as striking
Omar?
as Yaman telling you how to buy a Tesla, why to buy Tesla stock when
Yeah, I
he
was
has
just
never
gonna
even
say,
owned a
I kind
Tesla
of
and he's never
initiated
even
a
paid for
position in
FSD.
Palantir when they announced S&P 500 inclusion, and I'll probably close the position before they're included, a little bit before they're included, but we'll see. Maybe it could evolve into a longer term position.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, hopefully this discussion is helpful in making that decision. And, we do have the CEO sold a bunch of shares, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to the discussion. All right. Let's see. We have a number of topics we can go towards today, but let's see. Alexander, do you have anything? Yeah, I just couldn't remember who it was. It was not you. I just remember you kind of exclaiming when I said who's Abba. No, you're my favorite European guy. By the way, Tesla's doing really well in Sweden in Q3. Surge in deliveries in Sweden. But on the other hand, Alexander, there was some news that the strike against Tesla Sweden is expanding. Can you give us an update on that?
That's gonna do nothing, okay? EF Metal, this union, they are poor comparisons to Tesla. Like Tesla has so much cash. In fact, it's 1/3 of the whole like budget of Sweden. So what are EF Metall going to do? Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of surprising that Tesla was able to, have a record quarter in Sweden when this strike is going on. But from what I hear, the union that is servicing superchargers is now joining IF Metall, and also the surrounding countries' unions are also joining in terms of ports, so that Tesla can't deliver using other ports. Any comments on that? You're still not concerned about it at all?
They have been striking against supercharge service for like over a year now, so I don't see any difference in that. And I think the record quarter you are referring to is actually in Norway. They want 1/3 of all cars that was sold in September was Teslas in Norway. And
No, I think it's both.
Maybe I've seen
both countries.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of like trucks with Tesla on it in Sweden the last month. I think it's going to be a record in Sweden too.
Yeah. Well, we have a number of people. I mean, maybe we can switch to Omar. Any comments about Tesla Sweden strikes?
No.
Okay, then let's talk some Q3 deliveries. It's going to come out tomorrow morning. It's supposed to be a really good quarter. Expectations have creeped up a little bit over the last few weeks. James Katz finally lowered his estimate from 475,000 minimum to 470,000. So that was a bit of a walk back. Troy is probably going to release his estimates publicly in the next few hours or so, and we're going to get the numbers in early tomorrow morning, pre-market. Omar, what are you going to be looking for?
Well, Tesla did send out the analyst consensus. So the Tesla, the Tesla compiled consensus is usually, a kind of a good indicator of where they end up, because they can kind of add or leave certain people into that compiled consensus to make it look more like a beat. So I think they said 462 was the analyst consensus. I think it's going to come in right around there, probably in the 460 range. Anything less than that's a little disappointing, but still a beat year over year because of the easy comp. Anything more than that is great. It's a beat. So 460 to 470,000 range, probably not more than 470,000. I think maybe James looked at the number again, realized maybe he's being a little optimistic for saying 475 plus. But I think at 460 to 470, it's a decent quarter. The bigger question is really, what margins did you have to get to achieve that?
Yeah, that's going to be the big question in the next few weeks here. All right, Finflexity, did you have anything on Tesla Sweden or other topics? Finflexity.
Yeah, I think I saw from Barclays, all of them posted their individual consensus yesterday. And for the big banks, at least, I saw that all of them were in the range of 455 to 468. So all of them are expecting in that range only.
Okay, good. And I believe Gene Munster came out with a 455,000 or something. Yeah, I mean, so the range is about 450 to 470. I do see outlier estimates in the reply sometimes, but the reasonable range seems to be about 450 to 470, and then we'll see where Tesla comes. Uzi?
Yeah, I think Dan Ives was in the 470, maybe 75 camp too, but he's a mega bull, and he's usually right.
Yeah, we'll see. There's a lot. I mean, a lot's happened in the last week of the quarter. We have very positive FSD updates, some positive news. Record-breaking stock prices. The markets seem to be accommodative for these type of purchases. But on the other hand, the rates are still low, and there was a hurricane, a major hurricane in Florida that killed more than 10 people. And the last thing that's going to be on your mind during that time, obviously, is to buy a new car. So lots of moving pieces, but in the in the longer term, these things kind of wash out, and no pun intended. And I think FSD take rate is increasing, so I think these are very positive developments. Alexander?
Yeah, I also think like 470 range. I said this before, but I also think Tesla will report in the shareholder letter that they saw an increased demand in Europe in the end of Q3. And I think they will actually guide for a stronger demand for Q4.
That would be amazing because there's some concerns about Q4. Uzi?
Yeah, I think the result of the storm obviously is not good in the short term, but it might build more goodwill towards Tesla because of the Starlink connection. It seems like there's a community movement to get Wi-Fi to people there. And you've seen some examples of Cybertrucks being used for charging, but I don't know if will be material. It's just clearly you can make an argument that there'll be more goodwill.
Yeah, I don't think this company gets enough credit, and Elon doesn't get enough credit for everything he does. I mean, this morning on Bloomberg Television, they were talking about how he's sending Starlink to the affected areas, and he didn't even mention his name. They didn't. They just said Starlink. But yeah, Omar, can you say a few words on that?
Yeah, I mean, these disasters just highlight again how life-changing Starlink can be. And this is just one side project of one of his businesses. This can keep you employed. This can change careers. This can be the difference between being able to get help if there's an issue and not having connectivity. It can literally be the difference between life and death. So it's been good to see SpaceX and also just people in the community buying up Starlinks and getting them to the people who need them. I think I saw something on X about the Y'all Squad buying a bunch of Starlinks. I don't know who the Y'all Squad is, but they have now connected more American homes to broadband than the FCC has with their rural broadband program. So it really is just an incredible technology, and it's gearing up to be incredibly impactful. The new direct-to-cell service that's going live, that's going to allow Starlink to connect directly to an ordinary cell phone. I mean, that is another big leap forward for the service.
Yeah, and as we know, Starlink also played a role in Gaza, played a role in Ukraine, and power walls were sent to Puerto Rico, I believe, back in 2017, and I mean, just so many examples of service, community service here, and these are critical help, like something that nobody else can do. Like if it's not for this company, SpaceX or Tesla, these things would not happen. Like it's not a matter of this person is doing it and otherwise the government will pick up the tab or something like that. It's just that it wouldn't even be possible. Jonathan.
Hey, thank you for letting me come up to speak. I just wanted to speak to what Omar was talking about because he doesn't know Ryan Hall, y'all, and the Y'all Squad. I've been following Ryan Hall. He started off as a small-time YouTube meteorologist channel, and the Y'all Squad is absolutely amazing. They do, in my opinion, they do more good for victims that are impacted by natural disasters. All of the funds that they get from like their merch and stuff, a portion of every single thing that you buy from their stores goes to literally they have these first responders that they send out Starlinks, bottled water. If anyone ever wants to help whenever there's a natural disaster that happens, I personally have given a significant amount of money to that group because I know that money, in my opinion, is better spent than even going to like the Red Cross or something. I'm getting a better return on my investment as far as actual victims. That was all that I wanted to say. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for joining. Yeah, that's very interesting. Hmm. And how are they funded, Jonathan?
100% by viewers that watch his weekly meteorologist reports, YouTube monetization, and then people like myself that, I bought like a stupid, snow measuring stick from his website, and Ryan Hall, Y'all Hall t-shirt, they, a portion of all of their sales, they set a portion of those sales aside to go into funds. Also, anytime there's like a major event like this last hurricane, Ryan Hall goes live, and it is insane what people give while he's doing live streams. I mean, he's been live 24 hours plus, saying take shelter here. Anytime there's a tornadic event in the Midwest, these large outbreaks, he goes live and he stays live until the threat it has passed. And I mean, I've seen his channel rake in over $100,000 in donations in one streaming just for to go to the victims that to help with search, recovery, cleanup efforts. It's really quite astonishing considering no one knew who he was. I mean, I think I joined his YouTube channel when he had like maybe 300 followers on YouTube, and you can look at him today and it's quite significantly large, but um, it's all funded by just people who appreciate what he does. And I I see all of the people saying SpaceX or Starlink, send this, we need help. And it gets a little bit annoying from my perspective, whenever I'm sitting here watching this, because in my opinion, the best return on the I always look at everything as a return on the investment. No, get Starlink into people like the Y'all Squad that actually get it where it needs to go. They know exactly where stuff needs to go, and they're such a small and nimble operation. They're much quicker than FEMA. They had Starlinks on it just for the North Carolina situation. They literally had the first 2 Starlinks in Asheville.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Complexity?
Yeah, so a sidestep, but we just had the Treasury release some data regarding, the EV tax credit that they have been paying out since January 1st. So the data says that approximately 250,000 cars have been sold in the US that qualified for the 7,500 tax credit for EVs. And then another 50,000 have qualified for the used car sale for the tax rebate of 4,000, I think. Other than that, there was some more data. They released their survey on the economic policy of owning electric vehicles. So on an average, they have come up with a figure that if you assume a car owning period of 15 years, you will end up with savings of 21,000. So this is from the actual government as well.
Okay, thank you, Complexity. Hey, Alexander, I got a question for you. Are you there?
Yes.
Were you able to watch Herbert's interview of the Figure AI CEO?
I listened to it 2 days
You
ago.
listened to
Yes.
it? Okay, good. And we talked about it briefly in AI Amateurs last night, which was a great space and broke some records. What were your thoughts? You follow the company, you follow Tesla Optimus project, you're experienced in automation and robotics. What were your thoughts from that interview?
As soon as I hear Brett's voice, I get mad because he blocked me on X. But then I thought to myself, like, maybe he will be able to compete with Tesla, because, I mean, I've said this before, but I don't think production of the units will be that hard. It will actually be the brain. So yeah.
Yeah, in the longer term, he said it's going to be a software problem. And this is exactly what Omar says in this space as well. And we agree. But in the shorter term, the challenge seems to be around creating the hardware that they can scale. So they don't seem to have the manufacturing piece figured out yet. Was that your take as well?
Yeah, but then again, you don't really have to think about manufacturing before you get the brain right. You can't do the investments in the manufacturing equipment and so on. So that's what I think about that.
Okay, I have more questions for you in a second, but before that, quick word to our sponsors. And in the meantime, as I read the audio ads, please, if you're in the X space, take a moment to go up to the top of your screens, it out to new viewers, and expand our community. TSLA Live is proudly sponsored by Joe.
I love how he does the sponsors. I think he listened to me yesterday because I was mentioning how he was sponsoring every 10 minutes. He would plug a sponsor or plug his likes in a space. Yeah, I think he's calmed down with that a little bit.
And because
We are listening to TSLA Live. I'm just trying to see what they have to say today. I'm going to listen to the show for a few weeks and just kind of find out if there is anything interesting that Mr. Yaman or Mr. Omar or anybody else on the panel is going to say that might be not as factual as they might point out.
1 million humanoids per year before Figure AI or somebody else will. From a probability perspective, how certain are you?
I'm not that certain of that. As I said, like production of the units will not be that hard. And when I listened to the AI amateur space yesterday or today, I guess, you talked about what the cost of a factory would be, and I think 1 billion is way too much. Like I think it's around like 100 million.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, when you consider the fact that you have to build out the supply chain as well, and Brad talked about how they want to be vertically integrated, which is also going to be obviously Tesla's ambitions too. I think it's going to be around 1 billion, but I don't think it's going to be in the $5 to $10 billion as some people speculated in AI amateurs last night. We have one of those people on the board right now, and if he wants to defend his position against Alexander's $100 million range, maybe Finflexity can hop in and share his thoughts.
On the factory price?
Yeah, the factory to take humanoids to volume production, I believe you were estimating around 5 to 10 billion. Alexander says 100 million. So that's 2 orders of magnitude difference.
Yeah, so I actually didn't have much time to look at this topic after that, but based on the preliminary research I did for existing factories that have been made for producing humanoids, by the looks of it, right now in China, a company has invested into Turkey. Their news department is claiming that they have invested $10 billion into a humanoid AI factory, and I think that production capacity is approximately 150,000, or I don't know, I haven't checked their production capacity yet, but they are the only ones that have claimed to invest such a large amount into a humanoid factory. Other than that, the Beijing government has been giving out approximately 1.6 billion in subsidies to local humanoid players for basically pilot production, and I think that has been spread over approximately 40 to 50 players. So that would come around 32 million per player for pilot production in China.
Alexander, Finflexity says a Chinese company has invested large amounts, $10 billion, they said, in Turkey to build humanoid. I've never heard of this company or the investment. Finflexity, do you have any specifics? Like which Chinese company?
It is something called Anikton. I don't know. I think it's ANIK and something after that. I'm actually trying to verify it, but I've only seen a news post from the South China Morning Post. They're usually very reliable in their reporting on China. And I mean, the company has claimed the same thing, but I'll try to look up more about it, and then we can talk about it.
Why don't you send that article to me in DMs to my other accounts, and let me take a look at it so we can dig into it. Let me get the specifics of this, do some digging. Alexander?
Yeah, you have to understand, like a humanoid robot is only like 1/30 of the materials of like a Model 3. So you don't need that big of a factory to produce like a million units. The machines that you need for producing the body is not that many to produce like a million arms or like 2 million arms, 2 million legs. Obviously, they're not going to have the semi ships and stuff produced in the US. I don't think so. Maybe that's the case for China, and that's why it's much more expensive.
Yeah, interesting. That's an interesting perspective. That makes sense, actually. If China has to produce the chips that Tesla can acquire from other companies in the US, maybe that's why. Flexity, go ahead.
Yeah, my price tag on Figure was actually given that we were assuming vertical integration for the motors and everything together. You know, if they outsource the part of the motors and only do assembly, then it will be much cheaper.
Yeah, we're assuming vertical integration, potentially not the batteries, because batteries are in abundance these days. And I don't know if humanoids will need special batteries or not, but the actuators, of course. Alexander, does that change your view if Tesla will also manufacture its own actuators?
Yeah,
Would you like to adjust your estimate from 100 million?
No, but yeah, those units are small, right? You don't need big, expensive machines to make those.
Okay, Finflexity, Alexander says those are easy to produce, cheaper, easy to produce. They're small. You don't need multi-billion-dollar investment. What do you say to that?
The numbers that I was giving yesterday, all of them were based on that you would actually produce the actuators, the sensors, and the accompanying motors as well.
Come on, the sensors are just cameras. Tesla already has these in volume. Actuators, I understand, but Alexander makes a good point that they're not going to be very expensive. They're not going to need big machinery. This is a good debate. I would like people watching this on YouTube to share their thoughts, what they believe. Who do you think is right, Finflexity or Alexander? Do you think Tesla and other players in this space will need billions of dollars, up to $10 billion of capital expenditure investment into these big factories? Or do you think they're going to be able to do it for less than $1 billion, like Alexander says? So this is a wide gap. This is 2 orders of magnitude. So somebody's very wrong. And I can say I'm right in the middle. So interesting. Alexander?
Yeah, also with those investments, you have to think about what the money is going to. So obviously, training the model that is going to run on the robot is more expensive than actually producing a couple of robots.
Of course. Okay, I'm going to be waiting for responses in YouTube live chat. If you're listening to the recording, you may leave a comment below the video or a comment in a reply to the space as well. Inflexity?
Yeah, but a company like Figure wouldn't have capital expenditure on the software part because their models are they're currently using the model from OpenAI, and I think they're just fine tuning it for their purpose. So that would mean that they wouldn't have capex, while Tesla would have capex for that department.
Yeah, we're excluding data center capex. We're excluding data center capex because Figure AI is going to be using Microsoft's GPUs, and Tesla is already building GPU capacity data centers for FSD build out. So this is not, incrementally, I think both companies will need it, but let's exclude that. We're just talking factory. We're just talking factory capital expenditures. Alexander?
Yeah, and also assembly. Because the robot is like the parts for robots are small, you can actually use the robots that you produce to assemble the robots.
Inflexity.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that for the first million unit production, you wouldn't have the capability for a self-reproducing robot. That would require much more training on the robotics part. So most of the companies that are currently looking for pilot production, they are assuming that their maybe first 1 million or 5 million units that they will produce will be without the reliance of a humanoid building another humanoid robot.
I agree, and Brad Adcock said that as well, and Omar has said this in this space. Man, Omar and Brad Adcock agree a lot, actually. So maybe they're the right, same people. Steve says in YouTube live chat, no real contest, but I guess closer to 1 to 2 billion versus 100 to 200 million dollars. So Steve says Yaman is right, Alexander is wrong. In not those words, but basically, essentially, that's what he said. All right, Dallas, do you have a thought?
Not really well versed on this topic, so I'm gonna sit out here if that's okay.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, Dallas, you're definitely one of the most improved over the last several months. One of the newer additions. Dallas is always tagging me on material news that I haven't seen before, and contributing greatly to the space here, sharing the space, sharing the YouTube videos. So much appreciated. All right, let's see what else we got here. What else we got? Oh, Alexander, before we wrap this topic up, one more question for you. Do you, as a Tesla investor, are you worried more about Figure AI's competition versus Optimus, or Waymo's competition versus Tesla robotaxis?
Waymo, I'm not worried about. I mean, Tesla has that scale. I'm more worried about like the brain of the Optimus.
Okay, so you're not convinced yet that Tesla can build out a brain for Optimus that is that would make millions of robots useful. That would create demand for millions of humans. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think like the risk is that someone else can actually invent it before Tesla. That's a risk.
Yeah, I think that's a fair concern, especially with the fact that Figure AI is partnered with OpenAI, who has the leading chatbot models. But on the other hand, Tesla has access to real world hardware they'll be able to build, I think, a real world model better than OpenAI can. A humanoid that has to interact with the physical world. I think Tesla may have a special, unique competitive advantage there. Uzi.
I'm much more afraid of Waymo. First, Brett hasn't mass produced anything. Neither has Waymo, but Waymo has a working, not prototype, but working vehicle. And they have a partnership with Uber now. I think their distribution strategy is questionable because they can't vertically integrate with LiDAR the way that Tesla can. But at least they have regulatory infrastructure built out. They're in Phoenix, they're in California or San Francisco. So they at this point, they are the only market player. Whereas Figure AI, they have partnerships, but they don't have anything that works. To be brute about it, I do think Figure can be successful if the partnership with NVIDIA goes well, but ChatGPT is not. It's its personality. It's not vision. So I think NVIDIA will work on the vision part and the perception. And if the partnership works well, then I'd be more concerned about Figure. But for now, I'm not.
Uzi, I think part of the reason why you're underestimating ChatGPT is because you don't use it. You say to me that you use Grok almost exclusively. But if you were using ChatGPT like we discussed in the AI amateurs and submitting pictures to it like I do, you would be impressed how quickly it recognizes the things, so many different things going on in one picture. Uzi?
I don't think ChatGPT has depth perception or the ability to maybe at one point maybe reasoning and planning, but I guess there's a difference between the vision part where they're training with teleoperation, and then I guess the ChatGPT part, or Grok part, where you have a personality hooked up to the bot that can interact with the user. So I think they're distinct things.
Okay. Alexander?
Yeah, I have to push back there. I think like Waymo doesn't have the cheapest sensors. They don't have the vertical integration, and they don't have the scale of Tesla. So I think that race is, it's not going to be hard for Tesla. But if Tesla takes 4 more years to get unsupervised FSD, well, yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is really amazing. We have an excellent discussion going on right now. We have very knowledgeable, experienced, deep thinking speakers on the board. And interestingly, people are disagreeing with each other on various points. So while Alexander agrees with one speaker on one point, he may disagree on another point with the same speaker, which goes to show there's nothing personal going on here. It's all about the specific points and the facts and the specific parts of the argument.
We
which
find
I think just
out.
goes
We
to
will
show the
spot check
excellent
you there,
quality
buddy.
of
It's why I'm
discussion.
here.
Team Flexity and then Uzi.
Much love.
Yeah, and another thing that people aren't necessarily more caught up on is the fact that whilst Nvidia is a big player in this industry, the omniverse industry as they like to call it, their software for simulating real conditions in the real world for a humanoid robot are apparently on not as high as I once thought they were. So I basically was reading up on a new startup that is coming out in this field. It's called vSim. They actually raised money last week, and they are essentially pitching themselves as a replacement to the NVIDIA training simulation software for robots. So essentially what their argument right now is that whilst the omniverse model can replicate a lot of the physical world conditions, the simulation that you would require to train something virtually that could stand up in the real world isn't there with the NVIDIA software yet. So, there is a limitation on the software end of it as well for training a robot model virtually.
Thank you. Uzi.
Yeah, and I guess on top of the Omniverse, there's this problem with training LLMs with synthetic data. It's just made up human-made data. So I don't know how that's playing out in reality with NVIDIA, but obviously they understand compute. Let me say for Waymo though, obviously let me say I believe Tesla is ahead in both Optimus and Robotaxi by far. I don't want to sound like a bear. I'm just saying if you have Uber and you get a Waymo, you're going to use it, right? Whereas at this point, there's no Robotaxi network. Waymo is the closest to a competitor. Even though they might not fundamentally scale, they have partnerships and they have Google's Nest Egg. So they're much more of a competitor, in my opinion.
Uzi, I don't think anyone in the world will ever mistake you for a Tesla bear. You are all in on Elon. You use Grok versus ChatGPT. You think Tesla Optimus is ahead of Figure AI. You believe FSD is ahead of Waymo. And you assign 100% probabilities to all of these things happening. Not a single person on Earth will ever mistake you for a bear. And I appreciate you having been on the board. If you want to dig into Uzi's thoughts and forecasts for specific products and services, you can go to YouTube channel and watch Tesla Forecasts episode 3. And we also talk about his background a little bit too. So if you want to get to know Uzi, watch Tesla Forecasts episode 3 you can reach it through the link at the top of our screens. Alexander.
Yeah, I hate to disagree with Uzi, but I need to. So we don't know too much about Optimus right now because we haven't had an update or heard anything for a long while.
We're like 9 days away from here. That's why we haven't heard about it. I'm sure it's going to come up in 10.10. I mean, if it didn't come up in 10.10, I'd be so disappointed. Not that this is not I mean, even the invite is like robots, I think Optimus is going to play a major role, on 10.10.
Hopefully.
Come on. I'm willing to do a coffee bet on this.
I'm not saying they won't, but I'm just saying hopefully.
Okay. Let me know your thoughts in YouTube live chat. Real Zertex says 10.10 plus 1. He believes also. I think that's code for he agrees with me. Inflexity.
I'm not caught up on this, but what do you guys expect that Optimus will have to do on basically 1010?
I think they're gonna show the next version, and maybe some cool demos. But Northern Neil just jumped up. So Nathan, sorry, Nathan, go ahead.
Hey, I was very fortunate to get an invitation to the 1010 event after not getting into previous events. And I was wondering, does anybody know what time it's actually held, or is that still to be determined? So I did the RSVP, and they said they'll get back to me later with more details, and I haven't heard anything. I'm trying to get airline tickets and lodging, and the earlier you do that, the less money you spend typically. So does anybody know when it is on the 10th? What time?
Yeah, if anyone knows, please request to speak. But honestly, Nathan, I think Tesla does this on purpose. They leave it to the last minute because they want only those who will drop everything in their life at the last moment. Doesn't matter if you have a job or a baby, just drop it and hop on the first flight, paying 5 times more than you can otherwise. All part of the plan. James is coming up. Maybe he knows the answer here. Let's see. James?
Yeah, a friend of mine, he got a ticket and he said it starts at doors open at 5, but they don't start letting people in until like 5:30, and then the actual presentation starts at 7.
So if you go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering how long it goes, because I might be able to take a flight back that night instead of getting lodging again, but I might be asking too much.
Yeah, the email.
And you have to account for Elon time too. So that means the event will probably start at 8 o'clock. No, I'm kidding. James, can you repeat the start time again?
It said doors open at 5, but they don't start letting people in until 5:30, and then the presentation starts at 7.
They're gonna do between 5 and 5:30. What do you mean? So the doors are open but not open?
I don't know. That's just what it said in the email.
Okay.
Maybe there's something to see. I mean, it's the Warner Brothers lot. There's a lot there, and I've been there, and it's a big place.
I'm not jealous at all. Not jealous at all. Nathan, where are you going from?
I'm gonna fly from the Portland, Oregon airport. I live in Washington State, which is I'm like 10 miles from the border. So people in my area go into Portland, Oregon to use the airport there.
Okay, cool. Jimmy.
I hear that they're gonna unveil 2 vehicles, but I'm not sure. Has anyone else heard that?
Well, there's a comment in YouTube live chat from Brenton who says, I'd like to know, when do you think we'll see the Roadster 2.0 unveiled? Do you think it will be one more thing on 1010? Will it even be this year? I mean, that would be pretty amazing. I still remember the Roadster unveiled, the first one with the semi. That was a hell of an event. Man, that was crazy times. Maybe it'll show up in 1010, who knows? James and Alexander.
This is purely speculation on my part, but I would I don't think they would want to distract too much from the robotaxi and unveil the Roadster 2. But my guess would be that if they're working on if they built a whole new platform for this robotaxi that they're about to unveil, it would make sense that they've also have probably, like, Musk usually thinks ahead, right? And it's always like we need an ability to pivot it if we need to. And one of the things that they should be prepared for is, are the robotaxis going to be, ready for approval and actually going out on roads? And if not, then you probably need a version that's going to have a steering wheel and pedals, right? So maybe there's going to be, this is a robotaxi, but also unveil this has steering by wire, so we're able to manufacture them with steering wheels and pedals, or really easily, have no steering wheel or pedal, or it folds away and comes out when needed to be driven manually. So it's sort of a stopgap solution instead of just building one that has no steering wheel and can never be driven manually. So I think either there'll be two separate variations where it's like a robotaxi and then a steering wheel, or it's just going to be one version that can fold away when needed. So and then I think that will be like also marketable as, oh, this is the $25,000 vehicle because it's using the unboxed system to build it much cheaper and quicker so we can sell it for less. Maybe even Optimus is doing some stuff in the factory now because it's the production of the unboxed system is so much more modular now that that also reduces the cost of this vehicle.
All
So I
right.
think maybe the surprise will be a 25K vehicle.
Okay. That was a lot there. I wish I could use a chatbot in real time to say summarize. Summarize what was just said.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Who wants to summarize it? Let's pick on Inflexity.
No, I'm not going to summarize that, but
Okay,
you
hold on.
actually
No,
said
you can't. What kind of chatbot are you? I'm not gonna. No, I cannot do that. What's that saying from that movie back in the day? Was it like 70s or 80s?
I'm sorry, Dave, but I can't do that.
Exactly. Finflex just said that. I'm scared now. Steve in YouTube live chat says 30-minute warning. 30-minute warning. We need another big push for likes to get to record ASAP. Hit the like button. So we're gonna take a 30-second break.
To get to the event if you get an invite?
I'm really focused on growing Tesla Live. I'm just really focused on growing Tesla Live. You know, like I spend a lot of hours, and I need to focus on that right now. But I'm gonna be watching, and we're probably gonna have a space. We're probably gonna have something on YouTube during the event. I've been to a Tesla event before. I was at the Cybertruck deliveries event, and that was very, very good. But I need to focus on this. So, all right, Dallas.
Yeah, briefly, can we touch on the 12.541 release from today?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be doing a side-by-side comparison review of the features that they improved on Smart Summon for this release whenever I